Some renewed hope tonight surrounding the two massive wildfires as crews make some headway with the Palisades and Eaton fires.
But those living in high-risk areas cannot go home quite yet. There are still safety concerns.
Here's the latest. The Palisades fire currently at 19% containment, 45% for Eaton. 25 people have lost their lives in the two fires, and many more are still missing. Thousands of homes and businesses are destroyed. More than 130,000 households are without power right now. Most of those turned off on purpose to prevent lines from sparking new fires with high winds earlier today. FEMA, by the way, has received more than 53,000 applications for help. Earlier today, Los Angeles officials held a news conference addressing several topics, including response time.
The city's fire chief, Kristen Crowley, was pressed on her leadership from the start.
Had you responded sooner, had you activated those reserves sooner, could you have saved more neighborhoods and more lives?
I would think fundamentally, as we surged exactly how we did, our firefighters pushed in, they did everything that they could, and it's a what if. Again, I want to also focus on,
You wouldn't do anything.
no, of course there's always lessons learned, I tell you. I am taking this to the highest of high thought processes of how the LAFD and our entire region could do better.
Chief Crowley added they pulled every resource they could and thanked all the agencies that rushed to help.
The stories of kindness and giving during this crisis are uplifting.
Fox 11's Laura D is live in Pasadena with the congregation of a church that sprung into action. Laura.
Yes, Christine and Alex, they say we all rise by lifting others. Well, if that's the case, then I'm here with people who are 10 feet off the ground. Take a look.
Terribly. I just left without everything.
Tears, disappointment.
As tears flow, so do acts of goodness. This is the New Revelation Missionary Baptist Church in Pasadena Wednesday. Fire refugees were here to pick up basic items like soap, toilet paper, and toys. People who lost everything in the explosive Eaton Canyon fire turned to their church for help. The pastor of the church, in conjunction with the Urban League, answered the distress call.
To listen, to hear, to empathize, not to act as we have the answers because we don't, but to go back and find the resources that can maybe make the load a little bit lighter over these next few days.
The church estimates it's helped 2,000 people so far displaced by the fire. Some can't get beyond the evacuation zone. Others, like this woman, who came here for help, knows the bitter truth. This snapshot shows her home's final moments.
All of my family that lived in Altadena, all of our homes are now burnt to the foundation.
From 9 to 9, the relief effort continues here. Everything from staples to insurance claims. Volunteers amaze. Like this young Loyola Marymount law student volunteering to help victims fill out a mountain of paperwork. She's not alone.
It's been amazing to see the support that's come out. There was a point where there was too many volunteers, and I'm just really proud of the community for coming together.
It's beautiful. It's phenomenal. It's just that to show that how much love people have out here for each other, to show to each other love back. It's good. It's awesome.
A lot of raw emotion out here today from so many sides. I think you could hear it in people's voices. As we come back live here in Pasadena, people are still filtering in. What they're doing at this hour is they're coming to get hot meals to go, which are at the other end. And I'm told that they're serving hot chicken tonight. People seem very happy about that as their lives are in complete turmoil and upheaval. They will keep this open till 9 o'clock tonight through Friday. Then after that, they expect to scale back hours. But I can tell you here, a lot of people jumping in to say, how can I help? And the victims are feeling that love. I'm Laura Diaz reporting live from Pasadena, sending it back to the studio.
Love to see that, Laura. Thank you. As our community recovers from these devastating wildfires, local and federal law enforcement agencies teaming up to combat fire-related crimes. A new joint task force will investigate arson, looting, fraud, and illegal drone use. The group includes the FBI, ATF, and the LAPD. The goal is to stop criminals from exploiting victims and ensure swift prosecutions. So far, authorities arresting nearly 100 people in areas impacted by the fires. Here's the breakdown. Santa Monica PD says it's made 40 arrests. LA County Sheriff's deputies arresting 39 people. The LAPD arresting 14. The LA County Sheriff's Department says it has made 2 arrests for illegal drone incidents. 2 more men arrested accused of violating curfew near the home of Vice President Kamala Harris. A curfew remains in place from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the mandatory evacuation areas in both the Palisades and Eaton fire zones. Only firefighters, utility workers, and law enforcement personnel are allowed in those areas. Let's talk weather.
Fox 11 Weather is sponsored by Yamava Resort and Casino.
Well, as our Santa Ana wind event winds down, we still have a lot to talk about in the weather, including the air quality. I'm going to get to that in about a minute, but as we take this live view, and if you're outdoors today, you notice how blue the skies were, and things are seemingly fine as far as the air goes, but still some toxic pollutants remain. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's just start right here, though. Obviously, the winds on a lot of people's mind. And as we look at this map, this is just going to use these colors to highlight where we still see some wind gusts that are between 20 and even up to 40 miles per hour in some of the higher elevations right now. So we still see that far north and northwest of LA, and a little pocket here right down the 15 corridor, Cajon Pass, into parts of the Inland Empire. And that's where we see a wind advisory that's still in effect, but only for a short time longer. It officially expires at 6 p.m. today. The LA and Ventura County wind advisories have pretty much come to an end for the time being, for the foreseeable future. And also the red flag warnings, that's also still holding, but until 6 p.m. today. Then there is a sliver of certain areas here north where the red flag warning does actually extend into Thursday at 3 p.m. That's going to be parts of the western San Gabriel's, the Santa Susana Mountains, kind of the mountains around the Santa Clarita Valley. So that area highlighted in white still will be under a red flag warning into 3 p.m. tomorrow. And that's because there's still going to be at times some gusty winds. We're not talking about anything extreme, but it will be gusty up there between now and, let's say, midday tomorrow. So as we continue through the night into tomorrow morning, again, notice how much lower the wind speeds are area-wide. Still a little breezy up there around Santa Clarita and the mountains surrounding it. By 3 p.m. tomorrow, we see all alerts coming to an end. And notice what's happening with the winds at this point. Finally, an onshore wind, and that will boost our humidity. Okay, we talked about this earlier, and this is deceiving, actually. Many of the air quality sensors are measuring good air quality right now. These are picking up on things like ozone and particulate matter, but these air quality sensors, they don't measure toxic pollutants. And I just listened to a lengthy webinar hosted by the Coalition for Clean Air today, where experts on the subject talking about how these pollutants can remain, and actually for a long time. And you might want to think about still, wearing a mask if you're going to be outdoors until we get a real clear sense of what's going on, especially with the cleanup process still underway. They've got that webinar, that video on their website, ccair.org, ccair.org, if you want to look into all the details that they talked about during that. Now, as we move away from this event, I do want to let you know that models are hinting at another Santa Ana wind event going into next week, but the details are all over the place. It's going to depend on the position of a high and a low. I'll just show you right here for Monday. This model is placing this low to our west. There's another one that'll place it to our south, which would mean we might see stronger winds starting on Monday of next week, stronger offshore winds, which would be Santa Ana winds. And just to give you an idea of what we're kind of looking at behind the scenes here in the weather department, we have 2 primary models that are reliable to go out pretty far ahead in time, and both of these are looking at the exact same time frame on Monday. Here's one, the Euro, showing gusts 40-50 plus. Here's the GFS, or the American model, that shows winds almost completely calm across our area at the exact same time. So that's why it's hard to be real confident on the Santa Ana wind forecast for next week, but we see a potential setup. It'll be something to watch. The Monday to Tuesday time frame would be the time to watch for it. Otherwise, again, our weather's settling down. We're going to find humidity going up, might even be some fog near the coast Thursday night and Friday night, and temperatures will be cooler Friday through Sunday.
There's been dramatic improvement in the Eaton fire with 45% containment.
Fox 7 Gigi Graciette shares the story of an elderly couple who lost their home and a lifetime of memories.
Behind every destroyed house, there is a story. And I happen to know the story of this block, Norwich Village, because this was the home of my friend's parents, John and Chris. Take a look at what's left. Norwich Village, once known as Little Normandy because of the cottages that were built here between 1925 and 1948. You are looking at the home of John and Chris. John is 91. My friend's mother, Chris, is 85. They've lived here on Norwich Place for decades. John's an Army veteran. He worked at JPL for 48 years. And I'm learning this morning that a lot of folks who live in this area of Altadena worked at JPL. He was a professional photographer, and the family estimates he now has lost over 80,000 photos that he had on all of his hard drives, photos of history being made in many cases. He also lost his oxygen machines, his breathing treatment machines. The entire cul-de-sac is gone. I'm going to ask photographer Tony Butita to pan over to the left. Again, this is Norwich Village, once known as Little Normandy. The entire village was designed by architect J. Wilmer Hershey. He's the designer of the Santa Barbara Courthouse and the master plan for the entire community of San Clemente. This block was declared an Altadena Heritage Area on June the 5th, 2005. This block forms part of the 4,627 homes and buildings that have been destroyed, and unfortunately that number is expected to go up. And our heart goes out to all the folks. I'm going to ask photographer just to keep panning over there. You can see in the distance this entire cul-de-sac is gone. It is all gone. Every single home on this block, Norwich Village, is gone this morning. An Altadena Heritage site declared in 2005, and our hearts go out to all the families, to John and Chris and everybody.
So upsetting to see that. Gigi, thank you. Still ahead. Animals rescued from fires are now in the care of the Pasadena Humane Society, including a days-old puppy found alone.
The rock world has stepped up when it comes to fire donations. Take a look at the famed concert venue, the Whiskey A Go-Go on the Sunset Strip. It was turned into a fire donation drive for the past 3 days, with today being distribution day. Items from clothing to water to dog food were collected.
We have so much empathy, and I think that the rock and roll scene needs that because there's such tough exterior. So I figured, you know, maybe we can gather those people to help us help everybody else. We advertised Sunday a little bit. None of us have major, like, Instagram, you know, followers or anything, so I don't know how it blew up to where it did.
Amidst a sound check right there, organizer Joelle Dowley does an annual benefit at the Whiskey called Midnight Wonderland, so she had that connection already to donate to the Midnight Mission. Meanwhile, tomorrow's concert is Sophie Lloyd, who rehearsed there as donated items were packed up to go.
We'll be right back.
Pasadena Humane Society has been putting in work rescuing some 400 animals. Jessica Dubnak reports.
Here at Pasadena Humane, they've taken in 400-plus animals because of these fires. Everything from dogs, cats, to tortoises, even wildlife. The line you see behind me, folks that are hoping to be reunited with their pets. For some of them, it's the only thing they have left.
She came in yesterday, and you can see her face is pretty burnt up.
Oh my gosh.
She's got burns on her paw pads.
This is the intensive care unit at Pasadena Humane, a kitten found by a firefighter in Altadena, now recovering here. You kind of numb to it all, or does it still kind of get you?
Absolutely not numb to it. It's very sad.
Alyssa Stanlin says it's the biggest influx of displaced animals they've seen here, many with burns and smoke inhalation. One of the worst cases, a 5-day-old puppy. Animal control found in a collapsed building. Her mom and siblings nowhere to be found.
She had burns on her little ears, and she was all alone. We don't know where her mother was or the rest of her litter, but that's a very small puppy who needs round-the-clock care.
The cages are full. Animal control rescuing them finally let in the burn areas in the last 48 hours. And outside, a line of people hoping their missing pets are here, like Leroy Bennett.
What do those two little dogs mean to you?
Oh, well, they was my auntie dog who passed away. So, Gigi and Gaga.
He wasn't home when fire destroyed it, and his uncle, who was in a wheelchair.
He was only able to grab his wheelchair into my big dog, Samson. And the two little dogs are smallest, they ran off.
The pups were not here. Now he'll try 24 more area shelters. They continue to take in anything that comes through the door. The staff is tired, but won't quit.
It's taken a toll on a lot of us, but we're doing our best, and we're here to help the animals. It's kind of our duty and our honor to be helping them.
Jessica, thank you, and thank you for joining us at 5. I'm glad to be back with you, Southern California. Turn it now over to the 6.
Now, this is the Fox 11 News at 6.
And welcome to the Fox 11 News at 6 o'clock. I'm Alex Michelson.
Thanks so much for being with us. I'm Marla Tejas. There has been, this is the good news, there's been little to no growth on both the Palisades and the Eaton fires. Containment is at 19% for the Palisades fire, 45% for Eaton. The death toll, it stands at 25. About 100,000 residents are still under evacuation orders. 12,000 structures were destroyed between both fires, and curfews are still in effect in those fire zones.
Let's take a look outside right now. Mount Wilson looks a whole lot different than it did about a week ago. Chief Meteorologist Adam Kruger, are we out of the woods yet?
We can see the edge of the woods. For most of us, we might actually be out of the woods, yes. We are at the end of this event. There's still a portion north of LA where a red flag warning extends into tomorrow. But overall, winds are lower. And by the way, I'm just showing you the current gusts right now. And the colors on the map are going to show where there's still some gusts over 20 miles per hour, a little bit through the IE. But mostly it's pretty far off towards the north, near and even north and west of the Santa Clarita Valley right now. So still some gusts that are offshore, still dry air in place. And that's why that red flag warning extends a little longer. Now, right at 6 o'clock, and I was just kind of scrambling to update maps and stuff like that, the wind advisory was completely dropped, so this map is blank, and that's great. I've no problem showing you a blank wind advisory map for the first time in so long. The red flag warning for almost the entire area expired at 6 p.m. today, but this area right here is what I was talking about earlier that actually extends into 3 p.m. tomorrow, because still there's going to be some offshore, somewhat breezy winds here, maybe some gusts up to 20 to 40 in the higher elevations that could persist through tonight and tomorrow morning. So again, this area right here, just kind of the mountains around Santa Clarita, including the Santa Susana Mountains, parts of the San Gabriels, that red flag warning goes until 3 p.m. tomorrow. And then we are out of the woods for at least a few days, and I'll explain why I say it like that in a little bit. Gusts right now as we go into the night. Again, you see the numbers really just backing down. There is going to be this territory up here where it could be a little bit gusty through the first part of the day tomorrow. And then not only do wind speeds come down, but also we see the wind direction change in our favor tomorrow. Notice it's the onshore wind. You can follow the streamlines, and we finally have that pattern for the first time in a long time. So that's going to bring the humidity up and really help us out in terms of what we're dealing with dry air and gusty winds, and it all just kind of comes to an end. Now, I want to mention this because this is also deceiving. I know a lot of people have been monitoring air quality index monitors, which are all showing good right now. That is deceiving, though, because, and a lot of experts in this field weighed in on this today. There was a webinar hosted by the Coalition of Clean Air with a panel of people that are specifically, very knowledgeable in this topic. And so they were talking about how toxic pollutants remain and that those pollutants are not measured by the air quality sensors that picks up more things like particulates and ozone, for example. So just now on foxla.com/links, we've got a link to today's webinar from the Coalition for Clean Air. I know a lot of people have questions about how safe are we, how unsafe is it, and when things improve, and there's a long discussion on there if you want to find more information about that. We still have, again, and I'll talk about this a little later, potentially another Santa Ana wind event to watch out for next week. We'll get to that a bit later on. Guys?
All right, Adam, good information. Thank you. Unfortunately, there is something else to worry about right now, and that is the threat of landslides in the Palisades. Look at this shot. Skyfox over the 17,000 block of Castella Mar Drive, where there is a house that appears to be sliding. It looks almost cracked in half.
The search for what sparked the Palisade fires continues, as well as does the recovery effort. Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf reports from the region.
Crews out here today making major progress in the cleanup. Just take a look at this tree, burnt all the way down to its core. And then over here, crews out here today were cutting logs, fixing gas and power lines, trying to get people back to their homes as soon as possible. A race to restore order in the heavily burned Pacific Palisades. Power and gas crews working overtime in a frenzy, trying to get utilities back and running.
We're doing the best we can and trying to get them back up, fixing everything and trying to make it safe again.
How's it going? Just Fox 11. Only news media and first responders allowed into the burn zone, with police on constant patrol for looters. The National Guard setting up a large camp on PCH, complete with mobile shelters.
This is the best place in LA, and then suddenly this.
Jason McKyle works security for several homeowners in Malibu.
Because the hill came down, and then suddenly Saturday morning.
This house nearby split in half by a landslide. Thousands across the area decimated, now charred piles of rubble.
Yesterday I got sick. I was so painful. I started throwing up. I was hurt. I mean, we worked so hard.
And now the painful process of looking for human remains. This is something officials want to finish before people can start moving back in.
There's some teams that are going through this small community and trying to see what they can find.
ATF and arson investigators near Skull Rock combing for clues.
And they systematically go to an area and pinpoint where the origin and cause of that fire is.
Another fire New Year's morning in the same general area, part of the investigation, as well as more than 150 tips recently called in.
We're not going to leave any stone unturned. We have the best of the best up there investigating the origin and cause of this fire.
Crews from CAL FIRE and Caltrans clearing brush in Santa Monica along the Pacific Coast Highway, making defensible space close to the Palisades fire burn zone. So many people anxious to get back to their homes, but so far, no timeline has been given. Reporting in Pacific Palisades, Matthew Seedorf, Fox 11 News.
So far, authorities arresting almost 100 people, all accused of various fire-related crimes. Here's the breakdown by jurisdiction. Santa Monica Police Department says it's made 40 arrests. The LAPD arresting 14. LA County Sheriff's deputies arresting 44 people. That department also making 2 additional arrests for illegal drone incidents. A curfew remains in place from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the mandatory evacuation areas in both the Palisades and Eaton fire zones. Anyone caught inside the zones during curfew could be arrested and face serious charges.
LA landlords are jacking up rent by as much as 124%, according to a report by the New York Post. Right now, by law, building and property owners cannot raise the price of rent by more than 10% after Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency. With us now is the Attorney General of California, Rob Bonta. Mr. Attorney General, welcome back to the show.
Good evening. Thanks for having me, Alex.
What are you seeing in terms of price gouging right now?
Unfortunately, during this moment when many families in LA have been so severely impacted by the devastating wildfires and are reeling from hopefully the worst thing that'll ever happen in their life, that nothing will ever happen that's worse, but they're reeling and they're in pain. We're seeing the best in people, some folks helping and lifting them up and leaning in and wrapping their arms around them. And unfortunately, we're seeing not some of the best in people. We're seeing folks who are trying to take advantage of the situation, exploit the vulnerability, prey on these individuals who've been displaced, who are looking for a home, who are desperate. There's a surge in demand because of the natural disaster, and they're taking advantage of that and violating the law in the process. As you mentioned, there is a Penal Code Section 396 in the state of California that prohibits any increases of prices on certain goods and services after the declaration of emergency of more than 10% than those prices were before the declaration of emergency. So anything that's more than 10%, certainly anything over 100% is in violation of the law. It's a crime, punishable by a year in jail, $10,000 criminal penalties. We have current investigations, multiple investigations into criminal price gouging in LA with victims who were also victims from the LA fires. And we're also going to be doing some notices to folks for whom we have evidence that they are violating the law, indicating our knowledge of them, their conduct, and demanding that they cease and desist immediately.
So how quickly are we going to be seeing potential criminal charges in this?
We're hoping soon. We're in the process of developing our cases. We're far along on a number of them. Of course, the standards for criminal conduct are high based on the standards in our criminal justice system and our criminal procedure. And we always dot the I's, cross the T's, make sure that when we charge a case, we got them dead to rights. We're doing that here. It takes a little bit of time to track down the information from a source that's admissible in court, to get the testimony from the victims, and to lock down all the facts in a way that we can present to a court of law and secure the conviction. But we're doing that. We're far down the road on a number of different cases, so you could see something in days, at the earliest, weeks at the most. We'll be having a press conference tomorrow in LA where I'll be to talk about some of our ongoing progress. But we want the message to be clear. These are victims. These are people who are reeling and in pain. These are our fellow Californians. They deserve us, deserve that we lift them up, not take advantage of them. Do not price gouge. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should, and it is illegal. You will be held accountable, and you will be punished if you do.
So in terms of how does somebody know that they're a victim? And if they are a victim, how do they reach out to you?
You know, we've been having so much outreach, and people don't necessarily know how to get to our office, so I'll tell you how. You go to oag.ca.gov/report and send us the message about your experience. Send us documents that indicate the price that you were told is the cost of the housing. If you are able, send us the price before the declaration of emergency on January 7th, so we can do a side-by-side, and it can be clear that the increase is over 10%. But you don't have to do all of that. That's just helpful if you can. People know they're victims when they see these prices that are sky high and way out of whack, and they know something is wrong. They don't have to do the mathematical formula to determine the 10% increase. But if you are concerned and you're worried that you're a victim of price gouging, reach out to us. We can take it from there, and that oag.ca.gov/report website is the best place to go to inform us about your experience.
And as we wrap things up, the bottom line message to the people of California tonight.
We support you. We see you. We value you. We will do and are doing everything in our power to help you. This is a time for all Californians to rise up in support of the victims, to lean in, that feeling of generosity that makes you want to help, that makes you want to give to a charity that's helping the victims. Act on it. That's what we need. When people are facing some of the worst circumstances in the worst of times, it's time to bring out the best in people. And let's not cast blame. Let's not finger point. Let's not try to take advantage of the situation to exploit and re-victimize the victims. Let's help each other. Let's lift each other up. Let's take care of one another. California is certainly during this time knocked down because of these horrific, unprecedented LA fires, but we're not knocked out, and we're going to rebuild. We're going to recover, and we're going to heal, and we will do that best if we do it together.
The Attorney General of the state of California, Rob Bonta, thanks for coming on and sharing your views.
Thank you for having me.
Marla, to you.
Attorney Ben Crump is blaming Southern California Edison for the death of a woman in Pasadena. Just in the last hour, he announced a lawsuit against the power company. He claims they should be held responsible for the loss of 59-year-old Evelyn McClendon.
We want them to know that her life matters, and we will fight to make sure she gets everything allowed by the law to say that her death will not be in vain.
Crump claims the power company was negligent when it comes to California codes. LA Mayor Karen Bass and actor Sean Penn visiting the Disaster Recovery Center at UCLA Research Park West today. This is the old West Side Pavilion.
Yeah, it is the second day the center has been open, and fire victims are encouraged to go there, get a lot of government services in one place.
I had one woman who came up to me yesterday and today. She'd lived in Malibu for 40 years. She lost her home. She's living with her daughter. But today, she is volunteering.
There's an awful lot of compassionate people in there who really enjoy being able to help these people coming in. And so we know we have a very long recovery here, and I think you'll be seeing a lot of us for some time to come.
If you need help, we have a list of resources on our website. That is foxla.com/fireaid. Similar disaster relief center is open right now at Pasadena City College Education Center. Fox's Austin Westfall once again there live for us tonight. Austin.
Hey guys, today I spoke with the County Department of Economic Opportunity. They say that you should reach out to them if you've lost your job or your business. Here's their advice.
We run 18 America's Job Centers of California. That means that we can help you get a new job, but it also means we can help you sign up for unemployment insurance today. If you're self-employed or you work for a small business that hasn't paid into unemployment insurance and you might have previously been ineligible, you're eligible now.
Now, they say you can get cash within a few days. They'll be able to cover you for 6 months, they say, and the amount of insurance money that you're going to get depends on your current income. Lobianco says that new grant programs will unlock in the coming days. She couldn't share specifics on that, though. She says that opportunity.lacounty.gov is being updated hourly with new information, and you can visit them here at the Pasadena City College Communications Center off of Foothill Boulevard as well. This is not the main PCC campus. The address is 3035 East Foothill Boulevard. It's open 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily for the foreseeable future. Back to you guys.
And I'm sure there will be a constant flow of people for the foreseeable future. All right, Austin, thanks so much. The stories of kindness and giving during this crisis are so uplifting. Fox 11's Laura Diaz, she's live in Pasadena with a church congregation that has sprung into action. Laura.
Boy, did they. They're still busy even at this hour. If you look over my shoulder, you can see that they're still handing out meals. They've been doing this all day long. They went from breakfast to lunch to dinner. And right now they're actually serving hot dogs and chips because the hot meals went that fast. Joining me live right now is Pastor George Hurt. And Pastor, you and I have been conversing all day long about what's happening here in your community. And you jumped right into action. Tell us what the greatest need has been so far.
The greatest need, people, is to know that other people care. And we expressed that and met that need by providing them resources, for providing them with hot meals, and providing them with the necessary channels to get the information to know that they won't be left behind even though their home may be lost.
And when we were speaking earlier, I was asking you, because sometimes you don't know what to say to somebody in distress. And you said actually that there's power in not saying anything.
Absolutely. Joe friends, they showed up, they sat down with them, and they shut up. And that's when they were at their best. Sometimes people just need a shoulder to cry on, somebody to hug them, to express their frustrations. They may need to curse. They need to just get it all out of their system, just to be a non-judgmental support for them, just to listen to their pain and just let them know that everything's going to be all right. Just keep on fighting. The only thing that you can't do is stop fighting.
Now, dozens of people in your congregation, they are without homes. They were burned to the ground. What did you say to them? Did you just open up the doors? What was your first move?
Our first move was to pray. And so we pivoted our service. We went from the traditional service to just a good old-fashioned Sunday morning prayer meeting. We prayed for our leaders. We pray for those displaced. We pray for the volunteers. We pray for our firefighters. We pray for our political leaders, I should say, on the local, state, and federal level. And then we took money before we could do something like this. We put on pause all of the plans we had for 2025 in this first quarter and said, church, give us this set above your tithes and offering. Give us a set amount of money. 100% of that will go towards helping those that have been hurt by the fire. So our priority was to pray, and then our priority was not to spiritualize this event. Pray with works. Do something.
All right, Pastor Hurt, wish you all the luck in these efforts.
Thank you so much for coming out and being here.
It's our pleasure, really doing God's work out here tonight. They will stay here until 9 o'clock. That'll happen again on Thursday and Friday. Then they start to scale back a little bit. But people seem truly moved to have the assistance here. And quite frankly, the pastoral significance of this event of helping others in need has been quite profound. I'm Laura Diaz reporting live from Pasadena, sending it back to the studio.
As you said, doing God's work. All right, Laura, thanks so much. Still to come, some new video tonight showing the firestorm in Malibu as the Palisades fire moved in.
And red flag warning still in effect across parts of Southern California. Adam Kruger has the latest after the break. New video tonight, a Ring camera captured the moment the devastating Palisades fire raged in the backyard of a Malibu home. The camera that captured the moment, embers flew into the backyard as flames raged next door. The homeowner told news outlets she saw her house in the background of a news report and it was still standing.
2 at 6, check out this video from Sky Fox. A retro blue VW van miraculously survives the Palisades fire. There it is down below, the 1977 Volkswagen owned by surfboard designer Megan Crystal Weinrob is parked in a Malibu neighborhood. The area around it, as you can see, is almost all destroyed. Weinrob says she thought the van was lost. Well, now the van stands as an unexpected symbol of hope amid devastation.
The Little Mountain Fire in San Bernardino burned 34 acres this afternoon before firefighters were able to stop it. It started around 2 near Little Mountain Drive and spread quickly. Crews contained it in just over an hour, protecting nearby homes. Police arrested a man suspected for reckless burning. Let's check in once again with meteorologist Adam Kruger. Finally, some good news when it comes to the weather.
Yeah, that's right. And we could see in that video, I mean, the smoke was blowing a bit sideways, so there were some spots where it was gusty today. A lot of the LA basin, like we've seen lately, the wind's quite calm. Red flag warnings almost completely done. There is this portion up to the north, which is part of the San Gabriel Mountains and the Santa Susana Mountains, kind of the mountains around Santa Clarita. Red flag warning still in effect until 3 p.m. tomorrow, and that's where gusts could be up to 20 to 40, so certainly not extreme, but breezy for sure, and the relative humidity will be low, about 10 to 20%, or even maybe at times below 10% in that area. So let's go there into humidity now, because earlier we talked about wind gusts and just the overall wind forecast. Yes, the numbers coming down, and the onshore wind returns tomorrow, and look what that gradually starts doing for our humidity. We'll pause this at 1 p.m. tomorrow. We're seeing it get much more humid right along the coast, still dry elsewhere, but we're going to find that high humidity really sweep up through the area Thursday night into Friday morning. And this is what we've been waiting for over a week. And we finally see that taking shape on Friday. Also, cooler temperatures coming our way Friday and into the weekend. But another thing we need to at least keep in mind is the fact that next week there could potentially be a setup for some type of Santa Ana wind event. But the computer models are all over the place on this one right now, so it's hard to be specific both on the timing or the intensity. I'll show you what one model has Monday, placing a low offshore, which would mean onshore winds at this time. But other models are taking this low in different directions and might suggest that it positions itself where we're on the kind of northern side or backside of the low, which would be a stronger offshore wind, which would be a Santa Ana wind. That'd be around Monday, Tuesday of next week. I shared this with you earlier, but I think this is amazing to look at the difference at what these two computer models show for the exact same time frame. Both of these are set for 5 p.m. Monday of next week. This one says gusts 40, 50 plus. This one says wind gusts basically under 10 miles per hour. So again, there's quite a bit of variety in mostly handling the position of that low, and that's going to affect what our forecast looks like. So just know that there could be a Santa Ana wind event next week, but hard to be much more specific than that right now. I will tell you that the rain outlook is showing that there is nothing coming our way. Pretty much the entire state of California looks dry over the next 7 days, and this is the 6 to 10 day outlook, likely remaining drier than normal. But as we were talking about earlier, the landslides and mudslides, whenever the rain does show up, it's inevitable. That's going to be a big threat for those burn areas. All right, now our forecast, we've got, again, a little cloud cover coming back, especially in the mornings. Might be some marine layer or some fog for Friday morning and Saturday morning. Temperatures cooler Friday through Sunday as well, but there is no rain in the forecast. And as we take a look at the mountains and the deserts, you're going to see those cold temperatures in the mountains in the 40s, 60s for the high deserts, and around 70 degrees or so in the low deserts. Guys?
Adam, thanks. Much more news ahead in the 6:30 half hour.
Still to come, LA Fire Chief Christian Crowley today pushing back against accusations that firefighters weren't ready for last week's firestorm.
And it could be the costliest disaster in U.S. history. So who's paying for it? I'll ask the leader of the California Senate when we return. Welcome back to Fox News at 6 o'clock. I'm Alex Michelson.
And I'm Marla Tejas. Welcome back to the continued coverage of all those fires in L.A. County. L.A. City Fire Chief Christian Crowley defending how firefighters and engines were deployed before the Palisades fire exploded. January 7th, Crowley says fire crews were deployed in a, quote, calculated way for a typical wind event while maintaining adequate staffing citywide. Her comments follow a published report saying department officials chose not to assign available firefighters and engines for emergency deployment.
California Governor Gavin Newsom wants $2.5 billion for wildfire relief, and legislative leaders have agreed to hold a special session to help make that happen. One of those leaders is Senator Mike McGuire, who leads the California State Senate. Senate President Pro Tem McGuire, thanks so much for being on.
Good evening, Alex. Thank you so much for having me.
So what exactly will that money do?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, I want to let you know that we're moving with speed. We should be approving this $2.5 billion here within the next 2 weeks. And I want to be very clear. LA, we've got your back. We are moving with speed to be able to get this approved. Here's what's going to happen. Number one, it's going to kickstart the debris removal and the community rebuilding process. The vast majority of the funds will be going to kick off the two-phase debris removal cleanup. The first phase, household toxic debris, kitchen cleaners, bathroom cleaners, car batteries, bullets, oil, gas in homes, getting that out. Then it's going to kickstart the second phase, which is the debris removal. Foundations, walls of homes, remaining pieces of concrete, cars. What's critically important is that the money is there to start paying the bills to move the contractors in, and the vast majority of the $2.5 billion will kickstart and expedite the community cleanup. The last thing I'll just say on this, I have been through a dozen fires lost, and I don't mean to get emotional about it, but I've seen in my district that I represent in Northern California the loss of thousands upon thousands of homes. And here's what I know. Any successful community rebuild has a foundation of a successful community cleanup. That's why we need to put this money into this account to get it moving quickly. And I promise you, Alex, this money will help expedite the rebuild process.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. We have some images of you dealing with fires in your district. You've dealt with at least 3 catastrophic fires in your own particular district. What did you learn from that experience, and how can that be applied to what's happening now in Southern California?
First and foremost, I think it's important to note this is incredibly overwhelming. Alex, you've seen this day after day that you've been working this. The pain, the grief, the anger, it is real. And this is devastating. And this cleanup and rebuild is going to take time. I just want to be very candid about it. But there are several steps that we can take right now to ensure that we are able to move with speed. Number one, we have to expedite permitting of homes, businesses, places of worship, and schools. So in the city of Santa Rosa, in which I work in, every home that was lost, that rebuilt within their square footage, got a ministerial permit, over-the-counter permit, didn't go to a hearing at City Council or Board of Supervisors, over-the-counter permit. It saved years upon years of getting these homes built. Number two, we have to focus on schools. If folks can send their families can send their kids back to school, it brings normalcy back to one's life. Number three, 15% of all bids that came in to homeowners who were rebuilding from the Tubbs fire in Santa Rosa, 15%, they were fraudulent. So we need to swarm the greater LA fire zone with law enforcement officials from the Contractor State Licensing Board to be able to enforce these fraudulent bids and go after these contractors. The last piece I'll just say is we have to make sure that we are communicating and working directly with local governments and FEMA and the State Office of Emergency Services. FEMA will be working with the county, the city, along with the State Office of Emergency Services on this cleanup. We can't miss a beat. We have to be attached at the hip. And I'm just going to be blunt. These political attacks, this partisan bickering, it's not going to get us anywhere. It's going to set us back. And what the number one priority has to be, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, has to be getting these communities rebuilt. I think the best days for LA in the state are still ahead, and I'm firm in my belief we can get this done, but we have to focus on taking care of neighbors in need first.
And to that point, though, will there be a vote on disaster relief that's independent from anything having to do with Donald Trump and legal fees, its own vote?
Yes, there will be separate votes. We announced that here last night. There will be a clean vote on the legal defense bills for the most vulnerable in this state. There will be a clean vote on this $2.5 billion. It could be a bit more. $2.5 billion for the County of LA, the City of LA, to kickstart this process. You have my promise, and I know we don't know each other well. I follow through with what I say. Clean bills on each of the two subjects.
Well, the first, hopefully, of many interviews. Senator McGuire, thank you so much for sharing really helpful information there. It's going to be a long road ahead, and we're grateful to have your support.
We're going to get it done. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Marla, over to you. The Flip First Gymnastics Center in Santa Monica is seeing large crowds lately because the owner generously opened this space to kids displaced by the fire so that they can play for free. Let off a little steam from the special week. He's getting snacks and food donated there, too.
Well, new at 6, 2 local bike shop owners lost their homes in the fires, but that didn't stop them from volunteering to help others.
The cycling community, as we know, is a tight-knit one, and tonight Fox 11 photojournalist Sam Dubin, who's very much a part of that community, helps tell their story.
We lost our house. My son still wanted to ride. He rode in dirty clothes today because he didn't have clothing, and he came in here today because Pedal Mafia offered to support us.
So today we're doing a giveaway for the people that lost a lot of items in the cycling community. The owner also lives in Palisades, and he lost his house. Cycling really helps people build community, and it's an outlet and outreach for a lot of people.
There is a really large and also tightly knit community in Palisades and also in Altadena of those that are cycling. We know each other, we keep an eye on each other. Everyone's coming together to try and help each other. So getting back out into the road and with these other people to share this experience is really important for all of us.
We've had close to 100 people that we know that have lost their homes. So we're giving away jerseys and shorts, t-shirts, hats, water bottles. We're just trying to get people to get back on their bikes, connect, and just kind of free their headspace for an hour or two riding their bikes.
Care package.
Thank you, sir.
Good to see you, brother.
My name is Alon Rubin. I'm the owner of Sunday Cycles here on Main Street here in Santa Monica. Unfortunately, I was one of the victims of the Palisades fire. I lost my home. A lot of cyclists here in the area who we ride with, frequent the shop, and are actual friends with have also lost their homes. Not just their homes, but their bikes, their cars, their main transportation, whatever it may be. They're trying to get back to some sense of normality, but it's going to be a little bit of time. Cycling is a mental outlet for a lot of us. The business is definitely slowed down a little bit because the majority of our clientele are from the Palisades and Brentwood, Malibu area. I put an Instagram post out there. If you're just feeling a little displaced or cooped up, come hang out at the shop.
I think it's extraordinary what they're providing in terms of clothing that allows us to get back out and do this. What I came in here today was to give these guys a hug and tell them thank you for the concern they gave to my son when he walked in. They gave him a hug. He came home feeling like he was cared for and loved by people in his town. That's more important than anything they could have handed him.
Thanks, guys. Of course. All right, dude. Thank you.
I love that. Our thanks to photojournalist Sam Dubin for that story. We told you it was a tight-knit community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've seen that up close and personal.
Another sad reality of the wildfires is the issue of missing pets that were inadvertently left behind or ran away from home amidst the flames. That's where Love Lost is playing a critical role. It is a free, easy-to-use online platform that is helping reuniting missing pets with its owners. It's courtesy of Petco. You know Petco. And joining me now is Aaron Weiss of the Petco Love Foundation. Love Lost, Aaron, good to have you here. How does Love Lost work?
Thank you for having me.
Sure.
So Love Lost is a key part of our charter, and basically in terms of reuniting pets with pet parents. And in natural disasters like this, we often see pets get lost. So the way that this works is, first of all, it's free, it's simple. It works by photos. So for people who find pets, they can take a photo, upload it to Love Lost, and then for people who have lost pets, likewise, they can upload photos, and we have technology that matches those photos and helps to make that connection. Now, in these situations, often in natural disasters like this, pets can be any number of different places, people's homes as well as in shelters. So having a central database where it helps to make that connection with that photo-based technology is helpful.
The images that we're looking at, so I did a search on Love Lost of Altadena, and these are pets that have been lost since January 7th and 8th, and the owner tells a story, and a lot of them have to do with the fires. So these are current pets that are lost right now. And when you upload the photo, you can upload it here, but it doesn't, not necessarily. There are other sites that it matches it to with the photo matching identification technology, right?
Absolutely right. So we have connections to neighbors.com, we have nextdoor.com, we have connections to a broad number of sites that help to foster that connection and make that reunification happen.
That is so wonderful. This is such a help for so many right now. They've been around since 2021. You've had more than 75,000 reunions, and I know since these fires broke out, you've had some success stories, easy for me to say, as well.
That's right. We have seen some reunifications, the connections back to families start to happen. We saw one just come in today with with a cat that was impacted by the fires, and we expect we're going to see more, particularly as teams are able to get into the neighborhoods. They'll find pets, and we're expecting to see those pets move into the shelters, and where Love Lost can help make those connections as well.
Love that. Okay, so 3 ways that people can help beyond this. I know we have a little informational graphic that we can throw up here that we can go to the next one. And these are adopt, foster, and reunite. In less than 30 seconds, what's the message here?
You got it. So the key thing for the first 2 with respect to adopt and foster is really about making sure that we open up space in the shelters that we expect is going to begin to fill as first responders and rescue teams are able to get into the impacted neighborhoods. And then reunite is basically what we were just talking about. Petco Love Lost can really help broker those connections between the pet parents and the folks who find them.
Okay, well, let's tell people how they can find you, right? So let's throw up that website if we could again. The website, Aaron? The
website is PetcoLoveLost.org.
Simple. PetcoLoveLost.org. If you have a missing pet, you know somebody, this is a great way to reunite. We love that there's been so many reunions. Thanks for all the work that you do.